Strength through will is how we can reverse the perversion of values that have been instilled in you, in me, and all our brethren, insidiously through generations of ancestral oppression. Though it stood with as much superhuman endurance as anyone could, it left a deep impression. Invisible scars that have caused us to devolve into a state of unconsciousness so malignant, we've nearly forgotten we're not a problem to be solved. We always been the solution they seek to dissolve, with the illusion of ties that bind us to a system that blinds, of most vicious design, which is to free no man. Only together, through sharing of wisdom, can we heal the wounds of division, forever sealing that evil incision, and finally deprogram.
Together and made a plan. So you think people don't get together and make plans?
All the time.
You know what I'm saying? And if you can, it's like cause and effect. If I go outside and I see the streets wet and my yard wet, I didn't have to see it rain to know it rained. You know what I'm saying? I'm not crazy because I think it rained. That's not a conspiracy theory. Usually when it rained, it's what it looked like. So if you see things that done went on and things that's happening, what you have to do is, it's a saying in science, I can't remember who said it, might be honest, I can't remember, but if you eliminate the impossible, whatever's left, no matter how improbable, must be the truth. Period.
Say that little saying again. I need to put that in my brain.
When you eliminate the impossible, whatever's left over, no matter how improbable, must be the truth.
That's dope, yeah.
Yeah, it's the same thing. That's how they lock niggas up every day in court. You know what I'm saying?
Man. So
it's not really that complicated. It's simple. It's just that people think that when things get bigger, that they become more complex. It's not necessarily, it becomes more complex in the sense of, say, it's more bricks in a building than it is in a house, in a downtown building than it is in a house. But it's still the same principle. You start with the foundation and you keep stacking bricks till you get to the roof. You know what I'm saying? But the point is, no matter how big you go, no matter how small you go, the basic principles are the same. So when you think about if cats can get together and say, oh, we're going to have a gang, or cats can get together and say, we're going to have a police force or a government, or if cats can get together and say, we're going to have a neighborhood watch or anything else, homeowners association, how come cats can't get together and say, we're going to take control of this country, or we're going to, you see what I'm saying? All it takes is people with a certain amount of power and money. You know what I'm saying? We really, that's, least common denominator with power. It don't matter because money, that's what it is. When people with enough power come together, they can make some things happen that people without that power can't make happen. But whenever people come together, they have power. It's just about how much power each individual got. If I take 10 car batteries and put them together, that's going to be more power than 10 AA batteries. But it ain't like 10 AA batteries don't have no power. Yeah, they just got power on a smaller scale. So it's everything is mathematical to me. You don't say 8/16, you say 1/2 because you break it down to the simple. 8/16 is the same thing as 1/2. So you don't say 8/16. That's ridiculous. You just say 1/2 because you break it down to the simpler. You see what I'm saying? If I give you a glass of Kool-Aid, you don't say appreciate that glass of concentrated, you know what I'm saying, fruit extract, hydrogen, oxygen, and sucrose. You just say appreciate the Kool-Aid because we know what Kool-Aid is. You see what I'm saying?
Yeah.
So what you do is you keep it simple. But once we start over complicating things, you know what I'm saying, which is what they want you to do. That's why I tell people all the time, they say, oh, you becoming deep. I said, nah, I don't really becoming deep. What it is just like a nigga that's diving for clams or oysters. He got the ability to go deep. He can bring it back up for the people that can't go deep. So it's not about, if somebody's explaining something to you and they convolute it and make it hard for you to explain, they don't want you to know what they're talking about. Or either they don't know it well enough. It's another, a lot of times I can't remember who said it. I want to say it was Einstein. I can't remember who it was. But they said, if you can't explain something to a 5-year-old, then you don't know it well enough to be explaining it.
That's cold, yeah.
I don't care how complicated it is. If you can't explain it to a child, then you don't know it well enough. Because once you master something well enough, you're able to take it and explain it to anyone, no matter who they are. But if I sit here and I could do that, but I make it hard for you to understand, I don't want you to know what I'm talking about. I'm misdirecting you. You know what I'm saying? It's like back when they used to put fine print on contracts. Why would the lettering be this big and then all of a sudden it's some shit this big? Obviously the shit that they don't want you to be able to read is tiny as hell. Why you putting different size wording in there? Because you're trying to hide something. You see what I'm saying? So if I'm talking to you where you can understand, and then but if I'm talking to you where you can't understand, but I could have talked to you where you could understand, I must don't want you to know what I'm talking about. I'm trying to mislead you.
Yeah, and they like you said, they do that in every form, man. They talk over people's head, and you be like, man, what? And then once you figure out the lingo, and they be like, man, don't listen to him, he crazy. Cause then,
or if you challenge that, they can always say, I didn't lie, you just didn't understand me. See, that's covering their own ass. See?
Yeah.
But that's just a form. That's still a form of misleading somebody. That's still a form. It's not lying, but it's a form of deception, which is like they say the devil is a liar, which is not true, because if you go by the Bible, angels can't lie, which is what the devil is. He don't never lie. He always tell the truth. The nigga name literally means tell the truth. Lucifer means light. You know what I'm saying? So he just
keep some of
your own greed and your own arrogance and your own, you know what I'm saying, like selfishness to find a way for you to do what you want to do. He just saying, well, I know God say you're supposed to do it like that, but it's like 10 other ways you can do it. He ain't lying. It is 10 other ways you can do it. But God gonna be like, the reason he don't get punished for that and you do is because I don't give a damn how many ways to do it. I told you that this is how you're supposed to do it. And it's not that God is punishing you. The punishment is the repercussions from doing shit the wrong way, because that's why he was warning you, not because he's gonna punish you. It's because when you do it that way, you're gonna end up in a bad situation. That's what he was trying to do. See, that's what people don't understand. God don't punish. The punishment is yourself. You punish yourself. You know what I'm saying? Like if I go out there and walk in front of a bus, I'm gonna get hit by a bus.
Simple.
I can do it. Yeah. But common sense tell me if I do the shit, I'm gonna get hit by the bus. You see what I'm saying? But I'm trying to cross the street. Yeah, you can cross the street in front of a train, but why don't you wait till the train go by? You see what I'm saying? The punishment is getting hit by the train. You know what I'm saying? But you did that to yourself.
Yeah. So, man, let's go into this right here. Behold the pale horse, guys. Before we go there, I want this the only music story I want to talk about. I was listening to CeeLo Green in an interview, and he was talking about when the dungeon first started. Outkast, Goody Mob, and y'all was on y'all way out of town in the airport. And he talked about you breaking your leg, and they going back, and they were like, man, what's up with Rube? And you were like, man, go on, cause you understood the purpose of what y'all was doing. Even you understood it was bigger than you. So just talk. That's the only thing music related I want to talk about, because I heard it from him. I want to hear it from you, like actually being in it, and what was in your mind and let you know, hey, y'all need to push forward because I understand it's bigger.
Well, it wasn't even just that. You know what I'm saying? That's probably how he perceived it. I just knew that shit. My shit broke. I'm not going. You know what I'm saying? Ain't no point in y'all not going. You know what I'm saying? I know I'm finna go. I'm finna go get this shit about. It don't have to be no 13 niggas standing right there so they can watch me pull off an ambulance. You know what I'm saying? Y'all go ahead and handle business. You know what I'm saying? And apparently, it just, you know what I'm saying? And I don't like to say this because, like I say, sometimes you oversimplify things, people, because I believe you control your own destiny, but it wasn't meant for me to go. My actions at that time, caused me not to go. You know what I'm saying? But everything still happened, you know what I'm saying? Cool. So I wouldn't go back and change it if I could, because who knows what that would have did. For all I know, I could have went to New York and got ran over by a taxi. You know what I'm saying? So maybe the broken leg was the lesser of circumstances. You know what I'm saying? It could have happened. For all I know. It's funny because one time me and Sleepy was in the club, and we sitting there chilling at the table. I got this feeling, like a sick feeling. Like, man, something just kept telling me, like, go out. I just gotta go outside. I just need to get some fresh. I gotta go. I said, man, let me see the key to your car. I'm gonna go outside. I went outside. As soon as I walked out that club, I felt 1,000 times better. But some said, just chill in the car, just get your bearings for a minute. I hadn't drunk that much, I could hold my liquor. I hadn't drunk but a drink. You know what I'm saying? So it wasn't alcohol. It wasn't nothing like that. Something just made me have to get up out of there. About 5 minutes later, Sleepy came and jumped in the car. crunk that motherfucker. He said, hey man, he pulling out the parking lot, kind of, you know how you tell somebody kind of frantic. He said, bro, as soon as you left out that motherfucker, about 2 minutes later, some nigga, I guess, security had thrown him out, bum rushed back in with a strap. Security had to wrestle him. They fell right where you sitting at, all over the chair, knocked the table down where you sitting at and everything, and wrestled Buddy with the gun. So who's to say if I wouldn't have been sitting there, that situation could have been different. I may have been the way they couldn't have gotten the gun from. He might have shot that shit up. You know what I'm saying? So in hindsight, in my opinion, whatever was making me want to get up out of there was getting me out of the way, the path of what was coming. You know what I'm saying? Because as soon as I walked out, I felt better, but some still said, don't go back in there. Then he came out, like, bro, right when you walked out, blah, 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 blah. That shit happened to me so many times, you know what I'm saying? Like those type of situations that, you know, it's like, it's not something that you know of ahead of time. But a lot of times when you look back on stuff, you say, oh, now it makes sense. You know what I'm saying? It's hindsight. But my point is, you have to, what they call be in tune. You have to listen to what, you know, what your heart, your feelings, and your mind, because it's all just really just a combination of observation of everything, you know what I'm saying? But sometimes you get a connection, if your brain work to connect certain things. They got in science where they say sometimes you can see effect before cause. In other words, obviously, if I see some shit burnt down, it caught on fire. Sometimes you can see, it's almost like you can see the shit being burnt down before it catch on fire. You know what I'm saying? I know that don't really make no sense, but
it makes sense to me.
But so somebody would think from their perspective that you predicted that it was gonna catch on fire, but it wasn't that. It's just that really the shit already, whatever's gonna happen already done happened. You know what I'm saying? Sometimes you perceive that. So what happens is when you perceive those things, you can kind of, you start, and the more and more you do it, you start having the ability to kind of just see shit earlier than people. And I always had the ability, I can just kind of see, like, you know, we'd be in certain situations, I'd be like, man, I'm telling you right now, we don't need to fuck with this shit. This shit finna be fucked up.
Yeah.
The niggas be like, nah. And then like a week later, that shit was fucked up. I told you. You know what I'm saying? But some people just have the ability to be able to see the course of events unfolding a little earlier than somebody else. You know what I'm saying? And most of that comes from experience, but you know, it's also, I guess, you know, a blessing or a talent or just an ability to be able, openness or whatever you want to call it. But the fact of the matter is that it's there, no matter what you call it. It's just like if somebody can call the earth flat, you can call it right, you can call it what you want to call it. That ain't gonna change what it is. You know what I'm saying? Shakespeare said rose by any other name. You know what I'm saying? Like, that ain't gonna change what, you know, it's gonna still be the same color. We could have named it whatever we want in there. Hell, my name could be Jack. I still look like this. I still sound like this. You know what I'm saying? You know, my name Rube, because my dad named me after him. You know what I'm saying? So, but my name doesn't make me who I am. It ain't about the name. You know what I'm saying? Matter of fact, that's what your boy, he said, what's in a name? It ain't about your name. It's about what's in you. You know what I'm saying? You know, you can call something whatever you want to call it. That's just for us to ID shit, for us to categorize, whatever you want to say. You know what I'm saying? That's our, you know what I'm saying, kind of egotistical way of viewing everything. But really what it is, you know, in other languages, you know, you listen in Spanish, it's a different word for the same thing. In Japanese, it's a different word for the same thing. It's the same thing, though.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? So it's like a lot of people, people say, oh, they don't believe in God. Why are you gonna say I don't believe in God? Because they might call him by a different name. You know what I'm saying? So the thing is, like, whatever you want to call something doesn't change what that is. The truth is the truth. You know what I'm saying? And we can't change that.
Yeah, that's deep. Yeah. So and then what's crazy, like you said, when I asked you that question, I'm thinking of an old elaborate answer, but then you give it and you break it down, and it makes even more sense. Like, man, it ain't that deep, man. Y'all go on. I don't need y'all over me, man. And I be thinking like that.
Right. It's just see, it's a lot of times, man. Complication. That's all it does is complicate, man. But that complication is unnecessary. It's really simple. And a lot of times, like, if anybody that learned how to do something, you thought it was hard, right? And then once you get a real good understanding, a real good understanding of it, you realize this is much more simple than I thought it was. But there may have been prerequisites that you needed to get to that point. In other words, calculus is way easier than algebra, but you're not gonna learn calculus until you learn algebra. You gotta learn that first. It's just like you can learn the running ain't that hard, but you first got to walk. You can't just go from crawling to running. You know what I'm saying? You got it's certain things you get to. It's like a cat that can lift 400 pounds, bench press 400 pounds. You just finna walk in there and snatch up 400 pounds. You gotta work your way up to the 400. But when he lifts 400, he make it look easy.
Yeah,
it is easy to him now, but he went through working up to it. But it was a simple one step. If I want to go 1,000,000 miles, I got to first go 1 mile. It ain't nothing complicated. I just go one, then another one, then another one, then another one, then another one. Until I get to 1,000,000. Ain't nothing complicated about that. Just keep going. That's all.
Yeah.
So you know what I'm saying? They say, man, you got to do all that. That's too much. That's too many. I said, nah, nigga. I said, let me tell you something. You got an instruction book and all the right parts and all the right tools. If you follow them instructions properly, you know what I'm saying? And you got all the right tools and you do everything you're supposed to do, you can sit here and build a car. You know what I'm saying? It sounds complicated. When somebody just said, well, you need this, you need that, it's 1,500 parts. It sounds overwhelming, but it's not. Just start where you're supposed to start. End where you're supposed to end, and you'll have a car sitting there. You know what I'm saying? They build them every day. It's people that can do it without the book because they done did it so many times. It's simple to him, but it's because he went through the process of learning the process. But it's not that it's a complicated process. It seems complicated to the outside observer, to the uneducated or to the uninitiated is a better word. You know what I'm saying? So what they like to do is they like to keep us uninitiated so that we don't see the simplicity in being able to live happy and have some peace and be spiritual. So I'm saying it's simple. We think it's something hard about it, but it ain't really nothing hard about it. You just have to really admit that and believe it to yourself. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah. Man, my cousin, I was talking to my cousin. I told him, I said, man, I'm going to interview Big Rube. He said, man, Big Rube. He said, man, Big Rube is like the human dictionary. And, and having this conversation, it made me think about that. I was like, man, I don't know how he knew that, but I was like, well, he right. Because the way you break things down and you simplify things, it makes sense. And I'll be like, because the whole gem of it is they want it to seem complicated to you. So when you figure it out, you be like, man, y'all trying to play me, man.
Yeah, it's like I call it shining the light on it. You know what I'm saying? I just look, shining the light. Look at that. See it there, you can see it. Everybody can see it. You see what I'm saying? And there's nothing, everybody has, to me, I think that every person in this world, in this universe and creation, got something special about them that they can contribute to everybody else. You know what I'm saying? In other words, we all got something to bring to the table. Of course, we all don't got the same thing to bring to the table, because what would be the point of that? 11 quarterbacks ain't win no football game. So everybody serve a different purpose. You know what I'm saying? You can have a fucking Ferrari in my yard. I can go out there and take $10 worth of parts out of that motherfucker. I don't give a damn how much it costs. It ain't going nowhere. I can go out there and take the lug nuts off of that bitch. What? People don't think about, the lug nuts. That ain't important. The other day, they're holding the wheels on.
Yeah, you ain't going nowhere. Take
the fan belt off. See, them shit, you get them models on. But the point is, I don't care how kind of engine you got, without everything working in unison to do its job, the entire thing might break down. You see what I'm saying? Yeah. So the same way presidents and kings and the rest of them were motherfucking street sweepers and trash men and all the rest of them are just as important, because that's, matter of fact, maybe even more, because that's what really keep everything going. But see, if you got a machine, it's like for example, a great example is a clock or a watch. Okay. All those little gears and mechanisms seem complicated. Not really to a watchman. It's just it's precise. It's intricate, but it's not really that complicated. It's just that once you understand that system of gears and all that, then you understand. Okay, bam. You know what I'm saying? You need this, you need that, you need this. That's how they build it. You know what I'm saying? But that comes from having a working knowledge of physics. You know what I'm saying? That's how motherfuckers figure that type of shit out. Just like motherfuckers say, you give me a lever big enough, I can move the world. You know what I'm saying? It's like, I know that I can take something and take a stick and put it up under it and lift more weight than I can if I just grab it with my hand. You know what I'm saying? That's just simple physics. Everybody know that. But there's a time when everybody didn't know that. That seemed complicated to somebody.
Yeah.
But now it seems simple to a child. But that's because as we grow, as our knowledge grows. That's the whole point of keeping records and passing down knowledge to the next generation, so that they don't have to start from square one. Because if you didn't pass down knowledge, if you didn't pass down teachings, if you didn't have education, then every generation needs to be trying to refigure out how to start a fire. You know what I'm saying? You know how far we'll be behind if we didn't keep records, if we didn't teach. It's so that all the shit that I've accumulated over my lifetime, then my offspring don't have to start from zero. They can start from where I left off and improve upon what I got. You know what I'm saying? That's why we sitting here talking on Zoom now. You know what I'm saying? There was a time when motherfuckers didn't have radio, they had radios, they had TV. Then somebody said, it'd be dope if you could make it in color. Somebody said, it'd be dope if I had to keep getting up, change the channel. Somebody else said, it'd be dope if you take the wire off the thing and change the channel. Somebody else said, it'd be dope if it wasn't so big. You know, I mean, if it was big, but if it wasn't so fat. And somebody said, it'd really be dope if you could do it. You know what I'm saying? So, but you didn't go straight from looking out your window to a HD flat screen. It took time to get to that point. But now it seems simple. You know what I'm saying? You can go with a trip to the goddamn to the micro center and a 3D printer. You can make a goddamn TV in your house. You know what I'm saying? If all you need is the parts and knowledge to put the parts together.
Yeah, knowledge. Because if you got the knowledge, you can do anything, like you said.
Yeah, that's what it's about. Knowledge, wisdom, and understanding makes everything possible.
All right, you spoke on, before we get into this, the next thing, you spoke on understanding and overstanding, because you started to say, oh, understanding, but you like once you have an overstanding. Elaborate on that for the people.
Well, you know, overstanding is kind of like more of a thing that a lot of cats came with, because, you know, you don't want to be under nothing. But to me, my definition of that is understanding is when you're learning something, when you're fresh in it, you start gaining. Okay, damn, I overstand that part. Now I need to understand this. Understanding is when you're in the process of learning, you're standing under it.
Okay.
Once you overstand it, then that means you can teach that to somebody else. You know what I'm saying? Because I'm past that part. In other words, when I'm in first grade, I'm trying to understand second grade. When I overstand first grade, I'm understanding second grade. When I overstand second grade, I'm understanding third grade. When I overstand third grade, I'm understanding fourth grade. You know what I'm saying? It's the same thing, it's simple, over and under. You know what I'm saying? It's just a level. When you get to a certain level, you over that level. And you under another one.
Okay.
You're never gonna be finished. You know what I'm saying? Because it's like ingrained in us is a pursuit of perfection, which don't really exist in the sense of what most people think perfection is. To me, everything is perfect, because if something is the way it's supposed to be, it's perfect. But in a more layman's way of understanding perfection, in the subjective way of understanding perfection, and the objective way of understanding perfection. Okay, to me, everything is perfect. But at the same time, okay, bam, if there's an absolute definition of perfect, that'll never be reached. But that's what we try to go for. The reason we try to go for that is not to be going for a foolish quest, but so that you'll never become complacent and sit still and think you're done, because that's when it's over with. You know what I mean? Once you sit still, you might well be going backwards. So we're constantly trying to move forward. We're constantly trying to evolve. And that's, you can see that. From a cell splitting, turning into a baby, to kindergarten, to first grade, to 12th grade, to getting on your job, to get promoted, to moving. You always want to move up. You always want to make more money. You want to have a better house. You want to have a better car. You want to gain more knowledge. It's always about, but you start here and you go here. You know what I'm saying? But there is no limit. Like they say, the sky's the limit. Ain't no sky, so ain't no limit. You know what I'm saying? You're constantly going, and you're gonna keep on going forever. You know what I'm saying? Because there is no end to it. You know what I'm saying?
Okay. Yeah, I figure I caught that, and I want you to just elaborate on that.
Right. That's just the way because overstanding ain't really no real actual word per se. It might be, how that goes. We use it enough to become one, but to me, that's what that means. That's what that ideal is when you overstand something. You know what I'm saying? Is when you're looking back down on it. But there's still something else for you to understand.
Yeah.
And there'll always be more to understand, no matter how much you overstand. And that comes from that old, when you were younger, They say there's always somebody that can whoop your ass. You know what I'm saying? Like your dad would say, okay, how tough you is. How tough you think you is. Somebody else that tougher. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
So you want to get tougher. You know what I'm saying? It's a game. I can't remember the name of the game. Feeding frenzy or something. You be a fish. Every time the fish eat, he get bigger until he become the biggest fish. And then all of a sudden you go to the net board and you be the smallest fish again. And you got to eat till you become the biggest fish. And then they take you to another board and you be the smallest fish again. So no matter how big you get, there's another pond where you're the smallest.
Yeah, you just the biggest in your environment.
You're the biggest in that environment. Exactly.
Yeah.
But guess what? Once you become the biggest in your environment,
you gotta
do that. You gotta move up to another level. When you move up to that other level, you're not the biggest no more. So that gives you more of a challenge. You see what I'm saying?
Yeah.
That's the simplest way to really, explain that. You know what I'm saying? And like I say, it's all simple. You know what I'm saying? And that's what a lot of the best things, the most kind of like elegant ideas and inventions are simple. You know what I'm saying? When they serve a purpose, but it's like, damn, why didn't I think of that? Because it seems so simple after somebody, come with it. But it's just because sometimes it takes a certain way of looking at things, or whatever, to fish through everything and then see the simplicity of things. But then once you show it to other people, they understand it. It's just like sometimes it just takes that one person. That's why when people say one person can't change nothing, I think that's bullshit, because one person has always changed things. Imagine if Martin Luther King or Malcolm X or Einstein or anybody, Jesus, anybody else in history that we revere or think that did a lot would have thought like that. Well, one person, my little input 2 cents ain't gonna do nothing. Imagine if Martin Luther King was like, I ain't nothing think about that shit. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
So it's not that he had to be the one to do it. It's just that he was the one that did it, because one can't. But it ain't about him doing it. It's about him inspiring everybody else to believe. So I'm saying the symbolic nature of what somebody like that does is more important than physically whatever they did. You see what I'm saying? It's about inspiring everybody else so we all rise up together. You know what I'm saying? Yeah. But people have to believe that they can do something to really affect change. You know what I'm saying? And once, if you got one person that believe it, there's more. It's just like roaches. You see one, there's more than one. You know what I'm saying? If you got one person that believe it, there's somebody else. And if there's somebody else, there's somebody else. And the more people that speak out on it or that let it be known, the more people step forward. You know what I'm saying? It's just like, even on the negative, it's just like people that you get taken, especially from a celebrity standpoint, like a Bill Cosby, anybody else, one person say something, they think, it's 75 motherfuckers that say the motherfucker did something to them. You see what I'm saying? But they didn't say nothing until that one person said something.
That be tripping me out, man. But
right, but it's the same thing. You know
it makes sense.
Right, it gives people the courage to step forward and say, "Well, hey, I feel like that too." You see what I'm saying? And that's one example of the same thing. You know what I'm saying? It may be a lot of people that see something a certain way and don't say nothing because they're going along with the flow. But it might be somebody that say, "I ain't going with the flow. I think this should be changed." And then you might not be alone. It might be millions of people that think the same way you do. They just didn't say nothing because ain't nobody said nothing yet.
Yeah.
Somebody got to be first.
Yeah.
You got, like I say, you got to take one step to take a million steps. If you don't take one, you'll never take a million. You got to take one. So it take one person to have an idea or to have a concept for that concept to spread. You see what I'm saying?
Yeah, it makes sense. So going into that, man, Behold a Pale Horse, the book Behold a Pale Horse.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I know y'all done talked about it plenty of times as far as the Dungeon Family, Good and Mob, you know what I'm saying, Outkast. Let's go into that. Like, far as if you remember, what was your take on when you heard about how this? I think the title of the chapter is the silent weapons of war.
Well, I don't remember the title chapters, but I'm gonna tell you how I heard of the book.
Okay.
I think it was my boy Ray or somebody like that. They was like, "Yo, check this book out," because it was like Busta Rhymes or somebody had like, "Yo, y'all niggas need to check this book out." You know what I'm saying? And then I started reading that shit. I was like, "Yo, niggas really need to read this shit." And it wasn't because of the book itself. It was because it was things in the book that seemed plausible to me, and there's some bullshit in there too. But you know what I'm saying? But when I read it, the thing was about having an open mind to the fact that a lot of things going on, you know what I'm saying? And the funniest thing about that was, and you know, when they say bold pill, all they talking about is like, you know, like the title of it is a reference to like, you know, like Armageddon. I mean, it's like to the apocalypse, like, you know, when the horsemen ride down, you know, war, pestilence, famine, death.
Yeah,
you know what I'm saying?
I call it.
So, you know what I'm saying? So it's like, when I read it, I was like, it's a lot of things in here that's worth putting your head on, but it's not about them in themselves. It's about us realizing that it's a lot more things that's bigger than the everyday shit that we worry about. You know what I'm saying? And it started opening my mind and started thinking about other things. You know what I'm saying? And I started looking at this and saying, okay, that's that. But damn, I see this in this too. And I see this in that too. This is everywhere. You know what I'm saying? Like when I wrote the True That shit, you know, shit I say round